Hi, my name is Adam Cortell, and in this video I'll show you how to make a chicken waterer out of a 5-gallon bucket and some PVC fittings that you can get from pretty much any hardware store. So once you have your clean 5-gallon bucket, we connect a hose and some fittings in there, and then we make the chicken waterer part out of a PVC pipe and some fittings. I got these chicken water drippers from chickenfountain.com. They were just $5.99 including shipping. Chicken Fountain also makes the whole watering thing, so if this looks like too much hassle in this video, you can just go to their site and order one. So let's get started. Here are a few of the tools you'd need for this project. First, you might need a crescent wrench or some other adjustable wrench. Here's an adjustable wrench that you can use to tighten some of the PVC fittings. I used a little round file to open up the hole on the 5-gallon bucket. I needed a 23/64 inch drill bit for the poultry drippers. I used a spade bit 3/4 inch to drill a hole in the 5-gallon bucket. You'll need some sort of maybe a handsaw or a skill saw to cut the PVC pipe. I used some PVC glue to glue on the fittings. I used some Teflon tape, and I needed my electric drill. Before we get started assembling the actual 5-gallon bucket and chicken water, let's look at some of the parts we have. First, we have this 1/2-inch PVC cap, and then we have this riser. It's 3/4 inch female on one side and 1/2 inch male on the other side. So this will be what we sandwich onto the 5-gallon bucket to get it to seal. So what I'll do is I'll put one of these 3/4 inch O-rings on here, and then we'll drill a hole through the 5-gallon bucket, and that will fit through. And then we'll put another O-ring on here, and then just imagine that the 5-gallon bucket is actually sandwiched in between these O-rings here. And once we get that tightened up, we'll take this rain bird. It's a 1/2 inch threaded on this side with a 1/2 inch barbed fitting here, and so we'll thread this in here. So this will stick out of the 5-gallon bucket, and we'll put some Teflon tape on there to make sure it's tight, and then our hose will fit on here. So that's for the 5-gallon bucket side. Now let's take a look at some of the parts we'll need for the chicken waterer side. First, we have our 1.5 inch PVC pipe. I also have a simple slip-on cap that I'll just glue onto one end of it. And then on the other end, I'll put this on with the female threading here. I have an adapter here that goes from the 1.5 inch to 3/4 inch. And so with some Teflon tape, we'll be able to just thread this in here. That way, if we ever need to, we can take it off pretty easily to clean. And then this is a 3/4 inch rain bird. It has the 1/2 inch barbed on one side and 3/4 inch male on this side. And again, with some Teflon tape, that'll just thread in there. And then that is where our hose will connect onto from our bucket, our reservoir. And then, of course, we have the little chicken waterer drippers, and those will get put into our pipe and threaded in. So we'll need to drill a few holes into our PVC pipe. Now I'm going to use an electric drill and a 3/4 inch bit to drill a hole in our 5-gallon bucket. There we go, no problem. Now I need to drill a hole through the cap to allow the water to flow through out of the 5-gallon bucket. Here we go. Pop a little hole in that. That way water can flow right through here. The 3/4 inch hole I drilled is just a tiny bit too small to actually thread this right through, so I'm going to use this little file to actually just open that up just a tiny bit more so it'll fit. Well, just about 30 seconds of gentle filing, open that up enough for this to thread in. I do have my O-ring on here, so I'm going to go ahead and thread this on in here. and that'll be on the outside of the bucket. And then I need to go ahead and take this cap and we'll take a look on the inside of the bucket. Well, now here is the inside of the bucket. So I'm going to reach down here, put the O-ring on the inside, and I think that just leaves enough threads that this cap can catch that and get threaded on. Yep. And then I need to probably get a pair of pliers and just tighten that up a little bit more. Really snug it up so those O-rings can seat. Okay, now I'm just going to put some Teflon tape around this so that we don't get any leaks. So I'll just wrap that around about maybe about 4 or 5 times, and then I can go ahead and thread it into here. Again, I might get a little pair of pliers or something to tighten that up a little. Now I'm going to glue the fittings onto the 1.5 inch PVC pipe. I already put a little bit of primer on here, but you probably don't need to use any primer if your pipe and fittings are nice and clean. So I'm just going to go ahead and slip this one on. Give it a little twist. Oop, I guess I used a little too much glue. I will use a little bit less glue for the cap, since I seem to have gotten too much on the other one. Now I'm ready to drill the holes for the chicken waterers. I'll be using a 23 64 inch drill bit. So just go ahead and get started there. And so I'll be drilling 3 of those. Okay, I cleaned up the holes just so there wasn't that little bit of extra PVC there. And then I've threaded these in, starting with my fingers to get them in straight to get started. And then I've been using this crescent wrench to tighten it up. Now, I've just been very carefully getting it just snug so that that rubber washer compresses, because I do not want to strip this out. So when you can see that it's the little rubber washer right here at the base of this is starting to seat and compress, then you need to stop, because it would be easy to strip this right out, and then we would have a big problem. When you're putting on Teflon tape, you always want to thread it, I guess it would be clockwise as you look down at the part that's being threaded in. I always hold it on my left hand and thread it over the top. If you do it the other way, when you start threading it in, it bunches up and the threads actually kind of push it backwards. This way, it's sort of as if the trailing edge of Teflon tape is the last thing that's going around and it doesn't bunch up. So I'm going to go ahead and get Teflon tape on everything, and then we'll connect these up. Now that I have the Teflon tape on, I can go ahead and thread these on. I'll just do this finger tight for now, and then come back with a wrench and tighten them up more. Here's our barbed fitting where the tubing will come from our reservoir, the 5-gallon bucket. Now we're getting close. I just need to put some tubing on here. I have here some black 1/2 inch poly tubing that I just use for my drip irrigation. It's cheap. I have extra pieces, so I'll use that. Also, one could use this type of clear tubing with an inside diameter of 1/2 inch. That would work fine. So maybe you have some 1/2 inch tubing laying around. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this on here and just push it on firmly. There we go. When I put the other end on the bucket, I'm going to be a little more careful and put one hand inside the bucket to give a little back pressure, and then just gently but firmly work that on. I don't want to break, the bucket. These 5-gallon buckets aren't so strong, so that's probably good enough. So next I'm going to just test this and see if there's any leaks, make sure everything looks good. Well, I filled the bucket up about half full with water and doing a little tabletop test here. Looks good. There's no leaking coming from our fitting on the 5-gallon bucket. I think those O-rings are doing their job. Well, here we have our little bench set up test. I've got the hose running down here, and then I seem to have a little bit of a problem here though, because one of my chicken waters is leaking. It's dripping right around the gasket there, and what I'll do is take that out and put a little Teflon tape on it and gently put it back in and see if that fixes it. The other two seem to be doing fine. They only let out water when the chicken comes a-pecking. I went ahead and put some Teflon tape on this one, and it actually kept leaking. So I took it out and put some silicone seal on it, and now it's not leaking around the top anymore. So if you have any that you put in and they're leaking, go ahead and gently thread them out and put some silicone seal on them and put them on in and wait, and they should be good to go.